What's up, Primo? How's it going, man?
What's up? Are we live
We're live. We're
to
live.
the world? To the world?
It's those two
This
crazy
is
guys again. Yeah.
this is crazy. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, what are we doing tonight, buddy?
We're it's interesting.
Yes.
We did a stream on my other channel, Beyond Time, and we were kind of talking the other day and fell into some conversation about the metaverse. And I said, let's explore that a little bit more. So I thought this would be a perfect setting to bring that over to this channel and talk a little bit about that.
I like the sound of it.
So what's going on, man? How was your day today? Let's start with that.
It's crazy. We did I did some filming today. I did some filming yesterday, and I did a junk load of editing for stuff. So I have a ton of content that's kind of getting worked on, and then I got invited to cover another event, and just I think it's one of those things where I'm hoping this whole insane thing is kind of coming together, but we got to see, man. I need a team. You want to be part of my team?
Yeah, we'll be part of the team. I need
Right.
a team now too. I have multiple channels now, and I know you have multiple channels, so it gets crazy, and then you're trying to. I always find too when you're doing the two channels, you're kind of separating information and material for this channel and information and material for that channel, and it's a lot. And you do a lot of streaming too. You do a lot of other channels as well.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So last night you did, what was it, ECS Magazine?
ECS Magazine has a car talk thing. It's an open forum where we literally just like kind of the floodgates are open. So anybody can come in from the car world and talk. We get guys from Oklahoma, from Canada, from Ohio, Michigan. Last night we had Roanoke, Virginia. Like it's a lot of stuff. And it's good to be able to, that's one thing that I really like is being able to talk to people from other areas and kind of say, hey, what's it like there? You know, like Canada, how do you have car shows in Canada? Right. And it's a totally different monster. So it's cool. And some things are obviously consistent, but there's what I like too is both the things that change and the things that stay the same. They're both kind of like, wow, does it work like that? So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, man. Speaking of change, it's a great segue. So getting into kind of tonight's subject of tonight, and I was saying, the last Beyond Time live stream I had, you were over there helping out on the channel, and we were talking about the future and kind of the metaverse and what is that and where is this going and where do we see it going. And what I want to do first is I have actually the Wikipedia definition. We'll bring that up.
Oh boy,
people don't know what the metaverse is, but we'll pull.
Well, I'm one of those people that has no clue what that. I mean, I read up on it and I just went like my old brain just fried.
It's strange. So according to Wikipedia, and I'm not going to read this whole entire thing, maybe just read the first sentence here. It says, a metaverse is a network of 3D virtual words. Words.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and take the bell on that one. The metaverse is a network of 3D virtual worlds focused on social connection. In futurism and science, I will get through this at some point.
You want me to read it?
How about you read it? Because I'm not going to get through it here.
A metaverse is a network of 3D virtual worlds focused on a social connection. In futurism and science fiction, it is often described as a hypothetical iteration of the internet as a single universal virtual world that is facilitated by the use of virtual and augmented reality headsets.
Okay, so anyway,
Discovery Channel, if you need me later on, he'll give me my number.
So what I get from all of this is it's basically what I'm understanding is an alternate. I will get this out tonight. I will be able to get this out. It's an alternate world, kind of in kind of a virtual reality setting. That's what I kind of understand when I see it. The thing that I find very interesting is, and I want to go back to maybe a little bit of my weird, I wouldn't say conspiracy theories, but just some weird theories. So you notice, like, you go back and you look at a lot of the movies that we watched as kids, and you saw a lot of these things through the 80s. Like, first, let's go back to like Inspector Gadget. So you watch Inspector Gadget. What did Penny have on her wrist? She had almost a watch, right? That had a screen on it that looked like an Apple Watch. I mean, how weird is that,
Yeah, very true. Oh, are we going to make any Star Trek references, or we stay away from that? Okay.
And they did a lot of those things in Star Trek.
Right.
Exactly. They did a lot of what was it? The Lawnmower Man. He literally gets plugged into. They go inside his brain. This virtual world, the Matrix in the 2000s. So it's so weird that I look at all this stuff and I'm like, were aliens coming down and writing all these scripts, and then all of a sudden these directors found this stuff in a crypt and started making these movies? You know what I mean? It's kind of weird.
Are we talking about, because if we do the Star Trek reference, are we basically talking about what was it called, the holodeck or whatever, where they do the holograms or something, and that was it? So like that's kind of like, yeah. And the other question I have is the world that you're creating, is that your world and somebody visits your world, or do they all connect it? Or is like, am I Massachusetts and you're Rhode Island? Does it work something like that? Or do we share things?
I don't know. It's weird. It's odd. I think, and real quick, I just want to get this. Basil Bezel saying, I heard a story about someone's first experience in the metaverse getting attacked.
Yes, there was somebody that reported that they were, what is it? Somehow assaulted, and it basically male female kind of thing. I don't want to say the fully because I don't understand the concept of it, but how do you do that in the metaverse where it's like, I mean, that's kind of like doing it in Grand Theft Auto or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of all like the video games we've played. It's all this kind of virtual reality thing. That's the way that I kind of see it. You're going to put on a headset. You're going to go into a virtual world. Right. I think I'm still in kind of this thing going like this, like, is this going to catch on? Or people going to really do this type of thing?
Well, do you have to have the Oculus to make this work? I mean, I have an Oculus, but do I have to have that to be able to go into this metaverse? Or
I believe so. And I think probably what you're going to see going forward too is, I'm sure there's going to be if this thing takes off, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other companies that go out there and say, well, to enter our world, you're going to need our specific headset, or
in the subscription and the things, and then the little things, and then the NFTs and all that other stuff to go with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the weird and kind of strange thing about it, if this thing does catch on, and it was, what is that Bruce Willis movie, Surrogates, where they literally stay at home, they plug in, and they just have an entire life based on this kind of virtual reality experience. Right. It's strange, man.
That's it. I have to say, we bought the Oculus, and of course, the first thing I do is pull up my videos, and some of them are obviously driving, so we have it in cars, and we're going fast down the road. And that was the thing is I never had motion sickness from my own stuff, and it was funny because I'm looking at us in this car doing this rally thing that we were doing, and I'm like, here's the road coming at me, and I was just like, wow, this is so cool. Like, wouldn't it be awesome if I could do something like this and take somebody with me and say, you guys put this on and we're going to be in the car with me riding. And I set some of that stuff up to actually do something like that, but that was before the word meta came up. So I don't know if that's something I could do to share basically on my Facebook page, but I don't know, how would I monetize it, or, whatever. So
I've never used an Oculus. I've never put a 3D virtual reality headset on. I think the last thing I tried was like the Nintendo Virtual Boy, and it was literally in like that red font through the entire thing. You use it for about 30 seconds, you end up pulling away and throwing up all over yourself because you get sick.
That thing was painful.
Yeah. But let me ask you, when you wear that, do you get dizzy or sick or feel weird afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first time I ever used one was down at Factory 5. And what we did was you basically virtually designed a vehicle, and you virtually could basically drive it per se. It wasn't the same as, the sim stuff that we have now. So that was kind of the first thing. And you don't feel too queasy then, because you kind of have spatial, my feet are here, my body's here. Everything feels even because you're sitting in the seat and I'm driving the car I just built, kind of thing. When I went to Oculus and had that, there's a lot of different settings on it to make it right. And I did both a roller coaster ride, and I did a race car simulator thing on it. And that, I have to say, when you have to take it off after a couple of minutes, like 3 to 5 minutes. I was like, you got to take this off because you start getting sick, like not sick in a bad way, but like, you're like, okay, the motion's not working because it's not perfect. Like if you're sitting on a chair and you're in that universe, you're either too high, too tall, something's happening and your brain starts fighting it. And that's when if you don't have it set up right, yeah, it's bad. The roller coaster one was crazy, like, cause it's going down and I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, I got to take this off. My daughter's in it. She's putting it on and she's shooting targets and doing all this craziness. She just adopted it instantly. But yeah, for me, I was like, this is going to take a minute. But yeah, I still do the racing game, and I'd like to do more of the Sims. I did sim racing, which is obviously a little different, but there's versions of that use the 3D headsets, and it's so much better because now you're looking around, you can see out of your, I'm using my rear view mirrors, I'm using the space, I can see the wheel, and doing races with it and having real cars, that would be very dynamic, So yeah, I would love that.
I remember like an experience in there, and you might remember this too. At our local mall, Emerald Square Mall, they used to have a simulator in there, and I remember they had a race car that you could get in, and they had a roller coaster as well. And I remember that race car. I don't know how they did it, just in this kind of tube you were in, but you really felt like you were moving in that race car. It was crazy.
Well,
it was actual film. It was like an actual film. And I want to say, like, you dropped your money in, you go in, it was actually film that played, but the tube and everything moved. But when that thing took corners or took off, that you really felt like you were feeling the G's.
Right.
It's crazy.
And that's what I was thinking about with the setups that we have, is being able to get a chair or something like that you could put in, because one thing that we have a problem with, especially the iRacing rigs, is there's no lateral force or the big thing for us is forward and back. So if you hit the brake, you want to feel that push forward, and then as you take off, the G forces are pulling you back, and the lateral G. So as you're getting in a turn, you start to judge, okay, now I'm going to break loose, or I'm braking too hard or whatnot. And that's the big thing. That's what they all need to really make them the experience that they need to, because otherwise like you said, your head's kind of fighting your body. Do you know what I mean?
I just think it's weird and wacky, like a lot of the things and the way that things are going. I mean, I guess you could call me a boomer, but I just think it's really strange, like the things that we're plugging into our brains now. I think, like, I mean, what is it? Elon Musk has the Neuralink, and they were doing some testing, and now there was a chimp that had it in his head, and they were actually playing chess or something through it. And it's just really crazy, all the things that are coming up now. And it's like, man, we're going to be plugging in like the Matrix here pretty soon.
Well, that's a lot of that stuff too. Like, I think that with virtual reality, people can get into that because it's not something that's permanent. It's something you put on your head, you can take off, and people still want normal life, which is where I think the big question of, does Meta survive? It's really based on, how do you get people to come home from work and sit down and actually play it? Like right now, a lot of us will play something like Fallout or Grand Theft Auto, and you would come in and you probably play it for an hour or two. But that's the thing, is life is still pushing on you. So you're buying games to invest short periods of time per se. But with something like this, it really is, you get in, where do you cut it in and cut it off? Some of those games with Nintendo didn't really catch on with the group stuff because the activity involved in it, people didn't want to invest in it. And there comes a point when, hey, I need a break, So that's really my question with it, is how do you get something that's got to be solo, and it's got to be something where I can put it on, I can go for a couple hours doing my racing game, and then I'm done. But like you said, with these, the implants and all this other stuff, I see there's obviously going to be people that are basically early adopters that'll get into it, but there's no point when you go, hey, I'm done, and that's it. So I mean,
you look at it, I think Meta is it's lining up. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I just don't know how far it's going to go. I think the only way that this is going to really get pushed is that, a company takes control of it, and they do something like, we're just going to only work in Meta, and this kind of forces people into it because they have to take a job in this virtual reality or universe. But the thing I was saying is, you're seeing a lot of things get set up now. Crypto is becoming a thing, virtual money essentially. And is that going to be used in correlation with, the Metaverse? There was a guy, I want to say it was Snoop Dogg, that bought like the first actual property in the Metaverse.
Yeah, I remember a story like that.
I think, or he bought some property in it. So I think it's going to take like I said, a major company coming into it, kind of pushing their employees into it, maybe some celebrities getting on the hype train, and then really having, you know, companies where you have, like, was it Facebook has the Oculus, maybe there's another company that comes out, like you said, the subscriptions, and just really getting people immersed into this. But
well,
it's
I think
just strange.
Therein lies the issue of what you just said, and I think that's the biggest problem with this stuff, is because Facebook, kind of like you can make a Sony PlayStation and you can make an Xbox, and then you can make games within that environment. So if you're going to make VR games, they're obviously going to be for the Xbox environment and then for the PlayStation environment. When it comes to Oculus, he's not going to give that up because it's a money-making machine for him.
Right.
So really, to say that, here's another example: Disney, Google, they're all going to Netflix. They're all going to want to make their own version of this system.
All going to get in on this.
People are going to want to make 3D movies. I think that would be pretty cool. But the thing is you still have it where it's I'm going to sell it to Oculus. I'm going to sell it to Xbox. So everybody at some point is going to have their platform. But the idea of a metaverse that's shared among all different systems, we've tried that before and it never works. You can't. The Xbox, when we had the games that were, it'll go on Xbox and PlayStation and we'll start to mingle together. It's not just the operating systems. It's the type of players and stuff that come in it that just, something always happens. And like Gears of War, for instance, did their thing where they said, we're going to match the PC guys with the Xbox guys. Well, when the PC guys can form hacks and they have God mode, and the Xbox guys are like, look, I don't want to play. You see a PC guy, I don't want to cross promote with them. When something like that happens on Oculus, does Zuckerberg say, you know what? I don't want those guys to come together. It's just going to cause a problem. And stuff like that eats itself. And that's the part that I'm kind of concerned about, because I like the idea of a 3D movie. Can you imagine, like, hey, I'm going to experience what it's like to rob a bank or steal a car or be in a high-speed chase or all this. Like, just have somebody do something
Avatar
like that.
3D. You're actually the character in the movie or something like that.
And that's the thing is it goes from little things to huge Cameron-esque, or whatever, that guy with the explosions, all the different things. You have all these options to do with it. And those are good. And I think that's where it goes, because as consumers, that's how we're invested.
I think you made some really good points, going back to, like, how do we get people involved? How do they push this on people? Let's say Facebook says, you know what, we're going to have an alternate reality universe. The only way that you can access this is with an Oculus to go in, or you have things like Netflix, what was it, Hulu, all these Disney.
Yeah, the Star Wars universe. They're not sharing it with Facebook.
Yeah, you go into a actual universe of Star Wars or a universe of Disney or something. I think that's some really great, great ideas and points that you made. It's just crazy. I think it's just it's crazy to think, man, like, you would think 25 years ago that we wouldn't even have anything like, an iPhone in our hand and that access. And now everything is going so fast. And it's like, you have to start to think, like, how fast are we speeding up too fast? And then if we're speeding up too fast, what is at the end of all of that? These are all the weird things that I think about.
This is the thing that bugs me, and it bugs me about everything, because really is that statement about we're growing too fast, or we're getting too big, or we're doing whatever. There comes a point when there's always somebody that pulls you back. In other words, you go into the Oculus universe, and like they were saying with this other thing, I got attacked and bullied there. Now what? Who controls it? Where does it go?
Right.
Do we make a law for that? Is it net neutral for the meta universe? There's going to come a point when something is going to hit it. And when it does, that growth hits a ceiling, and it's an artificial ceiling. Like, it could still grow. For instance, cars could continue to grow, become better, get better fuels, do all this other stuff. But there comes a point when somebody says, I don't like the way they're working, and we're going to do this, and that's going to end it. And I think the other thing is people start getting into conspiracy theories and say, oh, well, you know what? You don't want to do that metaverse because that's how they control your brain, and they put you can hear all the craziness. And that's the thing is you're going to always have these kind of fringes that always kind of keep you inside of this dome that once you hit it, you go, we can only grow so far. And That's the way it is.
Yeah, I think a lot of, like, just going back to like the conspiracy theories and stuff like that too. I think a lot of that is because, again, we've had so much access and so much instantaneous access to information, what, over the last, let's just say, like, really as quick as it's been, maybe the last 5 to 10 years.
Right.
So
And imagine
just
the fight that the internet has gone through during that time. The idea that, and I'm going to, and I hate to bring it up, but it's the best way I know how to say it, pornography on the internet. I mean, that's pretty much the big thing that the internet makes, probably. And that continually gets fought against about, and there are obviously things in there that you don't want to have.
Right.
Why does that stuff exist? You have to ask yourself. And those things are definitely, let's make a lot to do this and let's attack those people and do. But for instance, internet scams. It doesn't matter. They're not getting caught. We ran over this in the other show. That guy did everything he did through Tinder, used the process, used it to manipulate people. What happens when he gets Oculus and now he's in this world?
He's really swindling money.
Yeah. And you know what? That we have an online romance where now he doesn't even have to get a plane. They just send him money because he's got, and that happens all the time, by the way. So,
and going back to, you just said that guy owning a plane, and we've talked about this in the other show on my Beyond Time channel, was, things like obtainable, tangible things that you might not be able to attain here in the real world, but in the metaverse, maybe you're able to buy a Ferrari or own a plane. And I think you're going to see these companies get in, maybe a $250,000 Ferrari in the metaverse is only $50,000, and I think you're going to see things like that. Rolex watch, Rolex watch, it's 11,000 at retail and you're going to spend $5,000 in the metaverse. It's just like an
NFT. You got that. Yep. So
it's crazy. It's just, I like sitting back and really thinking about these things sometimes, and how far it can literally go and how far your mind can start thinking about all this stuff. And I thought this would be just a great way to kind of explore this and throw things out. But definitely, I think another thing that you have to start looking into, and in kind of the theme of all this too, is privacy. You really have to start looking into privacy. How do they regulate this? How do they keep things private? I'm sure there's going to have to be a lot of security checks before people can get in on this. As Bezos was saying that he heard someone that they got attacked the first time. In what way? I don't know. But I'm sure that it's probably traumatic, and this is stuff that's going into your brain and your thoughts. So.
And that's just like the internet. Like, just look at the stuff that they did with Facebook, with somebody who makes friends on Facebook. They're bullied on Facebook. They've committed suicide on Facebook, or due to the actions that have happened to them while they were on Facebook, or having that used as a tool. And Facebook has been protected from any action. And I don't think in some respects that's a bad thing, because it's just like any tool. It's the person that uses it. It's not Facebook that was doing it. But to use their instant message for some girl to talk some guy into to killing himself, and she was found guilty of it. Like, where does that go? And I don't think anybody else is talking about this either. So that's just the thing.
And you have to look at it this way too. Are these good things for society? Are we getting too crazy with this stuff? I mean, we've obviously, going back to your point, you're seeing a lot more suicides now. You're seeing a lot more people commit violent crimes or murder, and a lot of the stuff is tied in the way that we socially interact. I know I was reading the other day, I think there's some college or some organization that's now doing a study on TikTok and trying to see what that really does to people's minds. Is what kind of influence does it put there? I mean, obviously this stuff does all influence. I mean, you have YouTube, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have TikTok, and all those platforms. We're seeing this information literally 24 hours a day beamed in our heads. We've obviously all changed. We all have changed. Just going back and maybe just 10, 15 years ago, how much we've all evolved because of all the information that we get. It's
and that's crazy. The thing is this is what gets me. Like, a lot of the stuff that, for instance, when I was young, we would study psychology, we went into classes, we did the stuff we did, and then you kind of went out in the real world and you kind of just batted stuff around. Today, I pick up YouTube and I can have the world's greatest psychologist 2 minutes later and learn everything that they have, and really be able to say, hey, if I have a client, that person's going to come in and I'm going to say, you know what, I remember reading about this. There's sociopaths. There's 6% of the world is sociopaths. How many of those are dangerous? Psychologists, all these things. And it should be helping us make better laws, better rules, helping ourselves get better, and using these tools to a productive way. But a lot of times people just go, I just want to see cats flying around with rainbows coming out of their butt. You're like, and therein lies the principle of saying, I don't think it's the internet. I think it has to do with the human condition that's really feeding that machine, that's saying, what are we getting out of it and what are we using it for? And the reality is everything that we have is used in some way as entertainment. It has to be some way of us being a release from the things that we have a problem from. And unfortunately, if that release is the thing that's also, like, I go on Facebook in the afternoon to kind of blow off some steam, and all I hear about is, the gas prices are going up. There's the next, what is it, virus or whatever that's coming to kill the world. And then Danny across the street just bought a Corvette, and I'm still whacking around in my Camry. Now it's now the recreation we're having is basically fueling these emotions. And if you're fueling those emotions, it's not a sustainable system. It really comes a point when that's the kind of thing that is why people have work burnout. And we're really like Warcraft. We had a game of Warcraft where people went in and what did they do all day? They mined. Yeah. I'm like, you went to work and then worked for somebody else and paid them to go mine all day to get what? Like, I don't get it. Like, when I play GTA, it's mission, or I'm racing. You guys spent all your time doing something else. I didn't understand it, but they got enjoyment out of it. So I can't say that they're wrong, but there comes a point when you have to turn it off. And that's, when do you turn off the metaverse,
Yeah. I like I said, I think this is just going to be very, very interesting. I'm curious to see psychologically how this will evolve humans as the next, as we evolve through the years. And it's interesting stuff. It really is. And I think it's, when I look at it, it's fun and exciting, exciting and scary, it's weird, man. We are going very, very fast.
Did we just go from a world of where everybody was together, then the sickness popped in, we all went remote, and now we're all moving out to the suburbs to play games in the city? So yeah,
it looks like it. It really
when is Grand Theft Auto coming to Boston anyway? That's the big question. Like, we have Miami, they have California. I think Boston deserves its time, right?
I mean, Boston, and I hate to say it, it might be New York, because
New York. Yes, obviously that's York, well, they have to be. Like, I'm not even going to argue that New York exists in there. I'm just saying that the only problem we have with a GTA game in Boston is you will never find your way around. You're just going to be lost, and there's no
reverse commute.
Right, exactly. Just you're going to be hitting pedestrians, and it is what it is. I don't know.
And again, even just kind of opening this up to a lot of the video games too. Maybe these developers and software developers get in and they just open up this crazy world of GTA where you can be a criminal or something. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to really, really be interesting.
It's going to be Free Guy in real life.
Yeah,
that's it. Like, you just go in and you do the stuff. I don't know. I like it when the GTA in some games like that, and really most of them, like, I never liked Halo and some of the other games because I just didn't feel it was grounded. It just didn't feel right. But I liked Gears of War because it felt like you're running. It takes a lot to move things around. The characters feel heavy. So that's the thing is I like the idea. And a lot of games that you see, especially Metaverse or stuff like that, the general stuff is people want to do the crazy things. Mm-hmm. And that's where another thing where you kind of clash, because you go, who does the sim racing versus who does the arcade racing, and how do you fall in between? It's just an interesting thing. But like you were saying, that's the step of what we have, of how quickly this has gone from, let's put it in perspective of Gran Turismo 3. versus this Gran Turismo that's coming up. And this, I mean, it's insane. You feel like you're driving a real race car kind of thing. And it's incredible. So
it's crazy. It remains to be seen what's going to happen here. But I think, just kind of going back and summing all this up, I think the way that this gets really pushed is you're going to have to see some type of corporate company, I think, get involved and kind of open up this universe and world. You're going to see, you're going to probably see realtors in here selling property. It's just going to be very interesting. The crypto is probably going to be used in that universe.
I totally get with you on the crypto thing. I think that's totally true. I just, from doing the real estate thing, it's going to be very weird for me to go to a showing in a house in a virtual world. That's going to be weird. So this is the price. Send your Bitcoin. Have a nice day. $1 million house. It is what it is. So, and they're going to exist. Like that's. Oh yeah. It's going to be 1,000%. Some dude. Some 14-year-old kid that built up his Minecraft universe wants to get over at Meta and go, hey, guys, check this out. And it's like the craziest thing. Disney never thought of anything this crazy. And everybody's like, we got to go there. Right. And that's the thing is like any of this, there's one guy that rises to the top, gets 4 million views on YouTube or something for his insanity. And now, hey, what are you guys doing tonight? Man, we're getting on the Oculus and we're going to, Bob's Crazy Land and, seeing how we can see if we can mess up our stomachs and not, see if we can have, Dramamine for the next 4 weeks because we went to that place. So
it'll be crazy, man. It'll be crazy, but we're not all going to solve it all at once. We'll have to keep our eye on this and see where it goes. I think it's going to happen overnight, but eventually over these next couple of years, maybe 5-10 years, this is really going to start to pick up. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. Right. So I think that's going to end it. We're at the half-hour mark. Great show this evening. If you guys are the first time over here on the channel, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe and check out our other channels. My other channel is Beyond Time on YouTube, and Primo has multiple channels. What's the one you really push? Is that Executive
Automotive Society? Yeah. But yeah, my VIP Primo thing, it's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, everywhere. But yeah, that's the thing is I want to see some of these guys' input of what they think it'll be in the comments. That's going to be really where I'm going to be headed over. So if you guys want to see me, look for me in there. So
please drop a comment below. Let us know what you guys thought of this conversation tonight. And if you enjoy this content, please come back here. We do a Sunday night show, usually between 8:30, 9 o'clock. Our start time is. And hopefully we'll see you guys on the next one. But that's going to be it. I'm Brian. This is Primo. We're going to hit the outro. We'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, guys. Oh.